This episode is brought to you by Health IQ, a very special life insurance company that gives health-conscious individuals the best life insurance rates and quotes. Learn about what they can do for you specifically at healthiq.com/old dog. That's all lowercase letters and dog is spelled D-A-W-G. That's healthiq.com/old dog.
In a world where jobs are how most people make money, one man, one desire, one challenge dares to break the mold. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where we don't work for money. Money works for us. Coming soon. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manacero.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network. I'm your host, Bill Manacero, and this is the show where 50-plussers and anyone else who wants to join us get solid, no sales pitch real estate investing advice to help generate real cash flow. This podcast airs twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and if you aren't already a subscriber, go to iTunes, type in Old Dog, spelled D-A-W-G, find our podcast, and subscribe. Well, today we've got a great guest, somebody that has a broad experience in real estate investing, but very heavily on the landlording side of things, but a real focus on affordable housing and some other areas. His name is Al Williamson. He's a civil engineer and the author of several real estate books, including 40 Ways to Increase the Net Income of Your Rental Property and Building Wealth with Inner City Rentals. But his real passion is creating surprisingly beautiful yet affordable housing. He is well known for publicly documenting his journey through generating enough ancillary income to cover the first mortgage of his 8-unit apartment building through his blog at leadinglandlord.com. where he also shares income-generating, cost-cutting, and neighborhood revitalization experiments. He now finds himself focused in a different area on corporate, short-term, and flexible-term housing, which I'm looking forward to hearing about from him. Al is a husband and father of 2 girls and lives in Sacramento, California. Well, Al, welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network.
Hey, Bill, happy to be here.
We're glad to have you here. You've got just a great background and I think a wealth of information for our guests, but just kind of went over an overview of what you do, and I thought it'd be interesting for people to kind of hear about where you came from and how you got into real estate investing.
Okay. Well, I was about 30 years old at a church picnic getting ready to get married. That's the backdrop. Older gentlemen who owned duplexes sat me down and asked me where we were planning to live. And I said, well, wherever she wants to live.
That's good husband.
I was
good
learning
training.
quick, yeah. I was a civil engineer and she was an RN. So we had an income. We could have bought a house, but this gentleman directed me to look into living in a duplex and renting out the other half. So that was in 96. And I went to the library and I started reading everything, nearly just working my way across the how to be a landlord aisle, the bookshelf, just working my way across until I started to say, I heard that before. Yeah, I know that. And then I felt comfortable of diving in, and the numbers were just an algebra problem for me, and I like algebra. So we ended up getting a 3-unit building. and I squished her into one of the smaller units above that. I got away with it for about 3 years. So she's completely fed up with that. But so we moved out and got a house after that. Rented our unit, of course. But that place quadrupled in value for us. She's completely on board after that.
Yeah, I bet you she likes seeing the numbers coming in. Yeah.
yeah. That was good. So, yeah. So we went on to buy bigger apartment building and do some different flips and different things like that. So it's been a very enjoyable journey.
Starting in '96, you obviously encountered the big recession.
I did.
2008, 2007. How did that impact you?
I got laid off in 2008.
Ouch.
And I was doing at that time I was doing some nonprofit work, trying to help this inner city neighborhood get back on its feet. And my tenants were either underemployed or getting laid off themselves. The whole city of Sacramento, California felt like it was declining. So it's not as if I could kick them out and go find other tenants that were doing better. It felt like the whole ship was sinking. And it was very scary free fall time in 2008. I was dealing with class B minus, high C neighborhood, lower income folks, affordable housing. So people were kind of sliding back. People in the middle class were sliding back into the lower class or more affordable options. So I was able to stay afloat. Yeah, I was able to stay afloat. And that's really what made me say, I need to figure out another way to pay my mortgage besides relying on my tenants' rents. And that was really pressing on me to diversify my income within my apartment building.
And how did you do that?
So that's where I got addicted to ancillary income. I was decided to do like a literary review or lit review, we called it, for my graduate degree. We always read everything you can and start compiling it and categorizing it, finding buckets for it. So I did that, and then I picked some ideas that worked for me, and I invented some as well. So, and that was a fun journey. It was nearly, we're going to take up our whole time talking about this. That's everything from bike rentals to renting by the room, payday rents where you have half the rent due every 2 weeks. And of course there's more weeks than months, or I guess there's an extra, if you do it that way, you get an extra rent payment each year. Because some months are 5 weeks and some weeks are 4 weeks. Upgrading, splitting Wi-Fi and furniture rentals and all those different things we compiled into. That's how I was able to actually generate about 1850 in 2015. 1850 in side income, or income in addition to above my traditional tenant rents, and my mortgage was $1,650. So I was about $200 over.
Yeah, for the additional income they're bringing.
Right.
Now, is that addressed in your book, 40 Ways to Increase the Net Income of Your Rental Property?
Yes, that's a collection of all the ideas I came up with, and it really helped me find all the ideas that will work for me. After I accomplished that goal, I was able to on the other side reflect on, okay, what is the 20% giving me the 80% benefit, the Pareto principle there.
Right.
And that's why I realized I was actually shifting markets. When I shifted from being a traditional landlord into someone who was doing a private dormitory or renting by the room, that's when I had more side income opportunities, because those people needed bicycles, they needed, printers and different things that I could rent to them. They're more distressed or more needy than a traditional long-term tenant. So I was able to serve them more and make more off them.
Now, what percentage of your rentals comprises that group?
Well, that was I was doing two out of my 8 units then. So I was experimenting with this 8-unit building, and then I shifted from there to Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms for those furnished apartments. And I started. This is after I had accomplished my goal, and I was able to reflect. I said, okay, let's do Airbnb. I was doing short stays, and that turned into doing monthly stays because your cleaning costs are the biggest expense that you have, and affects your net income the most. So the less times you turn over the unit, or if the person stays for 2 months instead of 2 days, is better, more profitable for you.
Right.
So yeah, I shifted there, and then I shifted over to focusing on just traveling nurses, which is kind of where I am today.
Wow, that's very niche-y, man, right? How do you target that group?
There's a lot to that.
I'm sure.
I do through various websites and a reputation now, established reputation. You kind of really need to go through and have third-party reviews, like through an Airbnb or a VRBO, where someone can verify that you're a quality host, and then as you start collecting reviews and from a particular group, you start attracting more of that particular group.
Right.
It aligns to my whole niche rental philosophy that I talk about on my blog. That's how you find your niche, by doing short-term rentals and finding who's coming to your neighborhood or who wants your property, and then you start focusing on those people, and that's how you build your net income. Could be 5 to 10 times more than traditional rentals.
Right. Interesting. Have you written anything on this in your blog or other places?
Yeah, I have on my blog. I have a whole course on that I teach to my subscribers as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, taking just a step back, I know you mentioned that at one point you were full-time engineer and you were laid off. Now, did you go back to engineering or full-time, W-2 income?
I did. So at that time, in 2005, I was doing really well. I was working for the state as a engineer who oversees bridge construction, and I decided to take some time off to do some nonprofit work because I was looking for meaning at the time. It was needed more than just money. So,
Right.
So I did 3 years of that, and then 2008 hit, and teachers were getting. It was part charter school and part inner city redevelopment. I was in the classroom a little bit for teaching an advisory group, and I was like, I should be laid off before teachers get laid off. So I went back to engineering and picked up a W-2 job.
Now are you still working full time, or are you full time landlord real estate investor?
Right now this has been really recent. Within a month, I switched over to full time engineering, blogging, and expanding my corporate housing business.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Do you know when you hit 50, you kind of have to reflect on your life and say, whatever you're going to do, you got to do it.
Well, that's our whole audience here. We're all 50-plusers here.
That's right. You got to get on with it.
The side of real estate that you really like, are you in the process of sort of growing your real estate portfolio? Are you designing, building houses? Where is sort of the shift that you're talking about right now that you're making?
So the shift is how I use my existing properties, and also the rental arbitrage is how we're growing as well. So as my first of all, a lot of my long-term tenants don't want to move, so I don't force them to move, even though it costs me about $1,000 in opportunity cost
Wow.
to do it so I'm doing just fine on my other ones that I have focused on traveling nurses. So I'm renting other properties from other people who choose not to do short-term rentals and kind of through a corporate lease. And then I furnish them and I contact my niche audience, my niche target market who are in need of housing and go from there.
Just to kind of clarify that, so you will, let's say, sign up for a 1-year lease with somebody for an apartment or a property that you will furnish, and then you rent it out, short-term rentals. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct. I start doing monthly rentals from then.
Have you been doing it long enough to be able to sort of track what kind of percentages you're getting on your return?
Yeah. So let me back up. So I teach short-term rentals to another course I do, and I was teaching my students how to do this, and then I said I better do it myself. I've seen people with $5,000 startup, as far as your first month's rent and some furnishings. People in Silicon Valley they make it $1,000 a month in net over and above doing this. So $5,000 in, $1,000 a month out. So it's a quick return with a much cheaper than a down payment, and you don't have the maintenance liabilities. So you don't need the reserves as well. So it's a straight cash flow type of play.
Right.
And in the market I'm in now in Sacramento, California, where apartments just don't make any sense to buy because they're so expensive, but the cap rates are so low. This is one way I can keep expanding my portfolio, or I think of it as building up the cash reserves for when the market goes back into decline.
That's just a really interesting concept, the idea of going into real estate investing but not buying. I know it is. It's fascinating. That might be a way somebody could get entry in and start generating cash flow immediately.
Right. You start generating cash flow immediately.
Yeah, I think that probably the biggest challenge, it seems like to me, would be the marketing side of it and getting the word out and getting the people in, so you've got enough steady flow. It's just like vacation rentals, same idea.
That's exactly right. So I always encourage people to if you want to make a significant step up in your rental income, you have to attach your business to the internet. We landlords like to run our passive real estate business just like the innkeeper for baby Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
No room in the inn.
Yeah, we just do not change that. There's so many different modes that you can operate in. I see 5 different ways you can operate your rental, from furnished to at minimum to then you have dormitory, then you have short-term rentals, and then you have corporate housing. All of those are much more profitable than traditional landlording, and they have a higher profit ceiling as well. So landlords in this traditional mode, they're kind of in a Walmart mode. They don't make much money, so they go buy more rentals, and then they have this huge maintenance requirements and this huge amount of risk every time you pick up another rental, another asset, another mortgage with another roof and all that. Oftentimes is unfunded liability that people pick up, and then they run it at the least profitable way possible. So the only thing more unprofitable than traditional landlording is leaving it vacant.
Right.
It's the least thing you can do. So I always encourage people to at least, look at all these different ways, these different modes. And if you're not making enough money, if you have a bunch of deferred maintenance, that's a good sign that you need to shift markets.
Right, right. And you just looking over this. I know this, you've had quite a history here since '96, but just looking at your whole rental experience and becoming a landlord, what would you say is sort of your biggest mistake, the thing that really hurt you and you learned the most from?
Really interested in how a landlord can help inner cities. So we got involved with that since 2002. We bought the biggest problem apartment in the inner city neighborhood that we wanted to focus on and help turn around. Looking back at it, my biggest mistake is I didn't buy more properties during the troubled times. At that time, I didn't know how to turn a neighborhood around. Now that I kind of have the pieces, the steps that everyone takes, I've done another literature review and also trial and error on my own part in collecting best practices for neighborhood revitalization efforts. And I put together a roadmap on how to do that. So now, if you are in a troubled neighborhood, you can buy up things with confidence and then follow a process to rehabilitate the reputation of the neighborhood. By then, you make the neighborhood it becomes in demand, and of course your prices go up and your equity goes up as well.
Right, right. Is that a paper that's available now or accessible? I mean, is that something we could link to? In our show notes.
A book called "Building Wealth with Inner City Rentals." That's my first book.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
So my neighborhood now, no one, if you came to it, you wouldn't believe it was a troubled neighborhood. It's essentially no vacancies in the neighborhood, and it's the trendy spot now.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, one person that can have that kind of an impact for a whole community as
Now, it's more than just me. I did it from a landlord's perspective, engaging with the neighborhood, and I was definitely the driver on my block and my section of the neighborhood by hosting block parties and working with the police department and doing curb appeal projects that, curb appeal projects cause ripple effects and throughout the neighborhood, and really stretching and advocating for the neighborhood. But it's definitely a team effort for sure, and you have to have a police department that has the right mindset and the political will to pull it all together. And you also have to be kind of on the fringe of the neighborhood and not really deep in the fray. You got to be right there on the fringe between a bad and good neighborhood to really make the shift.
Right.
There's a lot to it.
Man. Well, what would you say conversely? We talked about sort of the biggest mistake part of it. What would you say was maybe the biggest success that you've had?
The jobs that have come to the neighborhood. When you try to do anything that has a big impact, you're often misunderstood, and you really have to have a thick skin because people say some mean things to you that can take you out of the game. To come back and to see those people kind of give you the nod, like the effect of what you're doing and having jobs now in the community for their kids, they can appreciate you now. You have to kind of be around long enough for people to apologize.
So it comes full circle there.
Bringing jobs to the neighborhood and seeing all these new businesses and employing the youth in the neighborhood is what I'm most proud of.
Wow, that's neat. Neat stuff. Well, our audience, there's, as I mentioned, mostly 50-plussers. There's a lot of other folks that listen, but really our focus is really more on that group that's either approaching retirement or already in retirement. And they're looking at real estate investing as a means to be able to supplement their retirement and maybe it's sort of future legacy and so forth that they might leave their children. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice would you give to this audience? Now, some cases the folks are on very fixed incomes. Others the pensions or whatever in place it's not as tight a situation as it would be for others. But what kind of sort of general advice would you give them about getting started later in life? Granted, you started off when you were young, but for this audience, what would you suggest to them as a means to get in there? I mean, I kind of like the idea about renting a rental.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that because it's not a lot of capital involved, and
Right.
But what would you recommend as at least a way to get in the door?
Well, rental arbitrage is the easiest, but let me take a different step. For our generation, I'm now 51, so I barely made it into your bucket. Yes, there's a lot of seniors that are hurting that just can't make it together, but helping them either live, renting by the room to them, almost a semi rooming house, but just for seniors, but they don't need a lot of assisted. It's not assisted living. It's just kind of a community, helping them funnel with the money that they have, giving them something nice in a community. So that's essentially getting a rental and renting out rooms to people seniors that would otherwise be homeless, but maybe on some type of Social Security that just doesn't allow for much.
Right.
So that's an easy way of organizing and creating value for people. That's an easy way to make an extra $1,000 through a 3-bed, 2-bath home, of organizing that. So that can significantly help someone's income who has just limited means.
So you're saying you get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath and rent it to
Three
different people, almost like
different people,
like a boarding house type situation, right?
Just like that.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now these, they have. So it may be 3 people are similar. That maybe 3 people from your church or from Elks Lodge or 3 vets. I like doing it without government assistance, but there's a lot of assistance with for veterans in housing. That if someone wanted to go that way, that's a very rewarding way of making extra income, is taking care of our vets. I don't think there's anyone to disagree with that.
Yeah, no, I've done the same thing. A property I have in Indianapolis. Yeah, they're great folks that come in there that have served our country, and now they're retirement age, and they do get regular support checks, for housing, or at least assistance for housing. So, it's a great group to work with too, and they tend to be just excellent tenants too.
Yeah, I call that peer housing. So you're finding peers. You have to stay with the peer group to make the magic happen. Either all medical students, or all law students, or all CEOs, or all people doing startup businesses in the same house. It has to be in the same peer group to make it work.
And you rent out by the room, right?
You can do by the room, yes.
Okay.
If you're looking at making additional income, that's how you do it, because there's the economy of scales and the overlapping benefits. That's how you can bring in 2 times easily. Bring in 2 times what you would as a traditional landlord, so that you can actually take care. Traditional landlords can make it barely enough to maintain their properties pretty much until they pay off their mortgage, and then they can have a little extra. So when you bring in 2 times as much, then you're able to have a little bit of passive income and maintain your property. A lot of people get in trouble spending the cash flow that they bring in, instead of saving it for maintenance, and their properties end up in disarray.
Right.
So that's why I advocate doing something so that you can bring in above market rate income.
That's great. Great idea.
In addition to rental arbitrage, which is even easier to get going,
right.
I recommend that.
Where do you see, your business? You mentioned, the revelation you've had here at 50 and kind of looking ahead. Where do you want to see yourself go in the next 10 years or so regarding your real estate and, the projects that you're currently involved with?
I'm stockpiling. It sounds so elitist. I'm stockpiling money right now, waiting for the market to come back down.
Right.
So then I'll buy some more properties. Hopefully, unless my kids go to college, so I'll pay for the college and do that. But I really want to make sure I replicate myself as far as inner city revitalization efforts. It's because the money, I'm going to be fine money-wise. But I want my lessons learned about how to make a neighborhood safer and how to bring jobs to a troubled neighborhood to get out. That would be success for me if I can get 100 other people to take ownership of their neighborhood from a landlord's perspective. So essentially you're paid to take care of your neighborhood. So it's a very sustainable way of advancing a neighborhood, unlike government programs or nonprofits.
Right.
If I can get 100 of those of people doing that and help them shorten the time it takes to get their neighborhood back on its feet, that would be very rewarding for me.
That's great. That's great work. Great stuff. That to me is where real estate investors can really make a difference. It's not just about making money. It's transforming communities and hopefully in a positive way that will benefit not only the people who live in the community, but those around that community that are peripherally affected as well. It just got a great sort of long-term impact that people can do on a practical level. We're experiencing some of that in the area in Indianapolis that I mentioned too. It's kind of one of those borderline areas where you have some great development on one end and some other good things happening on the other end, but we're in the middle and there's still transition going on, and so the drug dealers, the prostitution, it's not completely gone, but it was bad at one time, but now it just kind of rears its head every now and then. And
Right.
So joining with other landlords has been part of our effort out there as well, as just meeting with those people, coming up with strategies together. When we're having troubled tenants, of dealing with them almost collectively and making sure that they just don't move from one building to another. That you're aware that you're trying to keep the community going in a positive direction. So there's a lot of things you can do by joining hands with other landlords, for sure. But
absolutely,
yeah.
Can I step on that I want to add a little bit to what you said.
Sure.
It's really important to work with landlords more so than homeowners, because the homeowners, they don't want to spend $1, but a landlord will spend $1. A landlord sees it as an investment, so they'll spend $1 because they know it's coming back in a form of rent or more value on their property. So it's a different mindset, and you can move faster working with landlords as you're trying to improve a neighborhood.
Yeah, I agree with you, and they think they set the tone too, because they can either bring down a community, especially if it's sort of that slumlord mentality, or they can really transform a community by upgrading and trying to go up to the next level, and it encourages everybody that lives around them to follow suit. So I think because there's such a strong presence, large presence in the community.
Absolutely, and the worse the neighborhood. Or the worse the neighborhood is, the more more effective a landlord can be.
Right.
When a neighborhood is in great shape, then no one really cares about landlords. They don't really want them. But when a neighborhood is in troubled, then a landlord has superpower strengths, superpower ability.
I love it. our time has kind of zipped by, Al. No, seriously, I feel like I could really take any one of these areas. I'd love to have you back on, and if you'd be up for that, and maybe we'll just do something all on rental arbitrage or all on idea of community revitalization. I mean, these are important areas, and I think the folks listening need to really think about this and really need to, are they making a difference in the neighborhood they're in, or are they just making a profit? And if they can do something in a positive ways, it's probably going to result in profit. But I think that just being conscious of the fact that you have individuals there that you are renting to that have lives and issues and things that you can positively impact. Just by the way that you run your rental operation or by your involvement in the community. So I think you've got some great stuff that I want to explore further for sure.
Okay, I'm up for it.
I'd love it. It'd be great. Well, we start to wrap it up here.
Hello, fellow old dogs. Before we jump into our wrap it up session, I just wanted to let you know that an important part of being a successful real estate investor is knowing how to regularly reduce expenses. It's a big part of what I do every day to maintain a healthy real estate portfolio. Well, I try to do the same thing with my personal finances as well. When I heard about a health insurance company that gave special rates to those of us old dogs who try to eat right, exercise, and stay healthy, I got very stoked. Health IQ gives health-conscious people the best life insurance rates and quotes. Learn about what they can do for you specifically at healthiq.com/old dog. That's all lowercase letters, and dog is spelled DAWG. That's healthiq.com/old dog. Check them out.
This session that we ask you for a series of quick questions to find out some new resources for those listening and some good ideas for those that are looking at real estate investing. So are you ready for the wrap it up session?
I'm all warmed up, stretched out.
All right.
Done some jumping jacks. I'm ready.
All right. Okay, here we go. Favorite real estate book?
Right now I'm really loving M.J. DeMarco's Millionaire Fastlane. He talks about escaping the ceiling and strengthening the floor, which means try to do something where you're actually doing work, you're not limited on how much you can make, and then make sure you take care of your risks as well.
Oh, that's great. That's a new one for me. I'm going to put that on my list.
Millionaire Fastlane is good framework.
Excellent. How about favorite business book, more general business book?
General business book, I like all the self-development stuff. I like the How to Win Friends and Influence People, the Think and Grow Rich. I need to reread those. But yeah, I think that should be an annual reading.
Great. Yeah, that's a popular one that's mentioned on our podcast. Both those. How about your most valuable website for success in what you're doing?
Well, Bigger Pockets is get an answer to nearly whatever question you have. So Bigger Pockets would be it for a general real estate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. Definitely. How about favorite app?
Wow, I use it in a few of them now. I'm using Survey Monkey.
Oh yeah, sure.
To get the poll people and I like all the bank apps as well, I guess. But yeah, so those are the things I kind of check on all the time.
That's great.
Different businesses, but no real app to that's a lifesaver for me now.
Sure, I understand. How about favorite quote?
I love Zig Ziglar's. You can get whatever you want by helping others get what they want.
That's a great quote. I love Zig.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about this one? This is our closing on our wrap-up session here is, let's say there was something cataclysmic that happened that just impacted everything that you have so dramatically that the only thing you're left with is $1,000 in cash. Mm-hmm. What would you do with that $1,000 to relaunch your career, your business?
Bill, you already know the answer to this one is rental arbitrage. It's the cheapest way to get it going.
Could you do that with $1,000?
You that and you're gonna have to partner with other people, but you can show them the numbers, and nearly anyone will give you money for that.
So maybe using the $1,000 to take people out to lunch, meet with them,
yes,
and get them to join in with you. Not to load
definitely. It's advertising to different people. Once you know how to do it, is doesn't cost anything, and then the least costly thing to get up and going. If you needed to partner with people, you can get. I guess you can get a bid for $300 and a smart TV for $150, and buy some towels and get up and going.
That's great. That's great. Well, Al, how can people get a hold of you if they want to find out more, maybe find out about some of your courses or programs, things that you're doing? What's the best way for folks to reach you?
Well, I'm really focused on building up my blog, which is leadinglandlord.com. And you can always reach me. I'm on all the LinkedIn, Facebook, Bigger Pockets, everywhere, Twitter. My email address is al@leadinglandlord.com.
Great.
So that's the fastest way to get a hold of me.
Excellent. Well, it has been great having you on here. We're not done yet, though, and hopefully you read the email I sent you, because the way we close out every show, you thought I'd forget about this one, is we let our guests just do their best old hound dog howl. And so I'm going to go ahead and just let you open up here and scare your whole family here. Okay. Okay, so go ahead. Go for it, Al. All right. You got good acoustics in there. I could hear kind of an echo. I mean, it sounded good. All right. Well, Al, thanks so much for joining.
This was fun.
Yeah, I think there's definitely want to connect more with you here and find out a little bit more in detail some of these areas. I think we kind of touched on the surface, and I think having you come back, we can really zero in on some of the programs that you're doing. They're very innovative and would be, I think, of value to our listening audience. So thanks for joining us. I just want to thank all of our Old Dog listeners out there, too, for taking the time. We know there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you've joined with us for this short time, we greatly appreciate it. Please note, Old Dog listeners, everything presented here, everything Al's talked about, and links and all of that can be accessed in our detailed show notes section on the Old Dogs website at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog, and then you'll be able to get all the information and our detailed notes as well. Well, that's the show for today. Remember, cash flow is king, real estate investing the means, and until next time, keep moving forward, and may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.